This is the Tech Link Weekly Podcast, episode number 3, recorded February 16th, 2014. This week's episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. Go to lootcrate.com and use promo code LOGIC. Hey, welcome back to episode number 3 of the Tech Link Weekly Podcast. My name is Craig Miller, and let's get started with the top tech news of this week. This is the show where we take a step back, look at the biggest story from the previous week, and kind of discuss it, break it down, throw in some opinions, and just have some fun with all the stories that we have coming in this week. We have 10, I think, perfect stories this week to talk about, some including some court rulings, some hackings, and some all-around fun news as well. And so I will, without further ado, break it off to one of the biggest stories from this last week, and that was a European court ruling that hyperlinking to content is not copyright infringement. Specifically, this was around a specific court ruling saying, well, they linked to the content. That means that they're copyrighting it because they have linked to it. They're not hosting it. They may have not uploaded it. No, it's just a direct link to it. Now, if the courts had upheld this ruling, well, that could have caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people, not even including the Pirate Bay, all of those type of torrent sites, but I mean sites that maybe break some news, maybe have links off to some not so legal sites, but it's still legal in the fact that they can link to it. One of the biggest examples recently was with a new script for a director was leaked onto the web. I believe it was Gizmodo or Jezebel or somebody had linked off to it, and he was starting to sue them. This director was starting to sue them because, well, he thought, well, they're breaking my copyright because they've linked off to it. Well, apparently that's not the case in the European courts. If it does make it to the American courts, I'm sure we'll see a lot of references to this court ruling that will say, well, the linking isn't copyright infringement. It is mostly the hosting of which and the possession of which gets you in trouble. Which, if this law had gone through, it would have caused a lot of trouble out there. But thank goodness it didn't. Copyright law is one of those interesting things where we really have to take a step back and look at it, see if it's even justifiable in many aspects. There's a lot of copyright law out there that I don't agree with. That mainly has to do with some ways that it's worded where some people can get in trouble when it's not necessarily their fault. It's just a way that it happened to happen, and it leaves them vulnerable. I think that is the biggest point right now on the web that is vulnerable and needs to be fixed somehow, some way in a huge, wide structure, and that has yet to happen. But I think that we are taking small, very, very small baby steps towards actually getting something together in the front of better copyright law for web, which may or may not turn out to be very interesting. I do want to also go off to another one of the biggest stories this week. It actually just happened a couple days ago. Now, if any of you guys use Kickstarter or don't know what Kickstarter is a website where you can go to it, you can back projects, and backing a project means that you usually are going to pay some upfront cost. It's not like a couple $1,000s, it's not a couple $100. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. What it can do is these small projects can say, hey, help support us. So you can chip in maybe $5-10, depending on the level that you chip in. You can also earn, rewards for doing that. One of the ones that I backed recently that came with a reward was something called Light Pack. Basically, this pack that you can attach to the back of your TVs, your computer monitors, and projects and glows the general screen color behind it. It's pretty cool technology. And if you backed a certain level, you actually got some when they finally got into the production run, which is very interesting. But the story isn't right about the specific Kickstarter project. No, it's actually about what happened to Kickstarter over the weekend. And that was that some hackers had broken into the systems and made off with some of the data. Some of this data included names, passwords, email addresses, mailing addresses, phone numbers, and encrypted passwords. But it did not, and I repeat, did not take the credit card numbers. And I'm going to attribute that because I know I've used Kickstarter before, because Kickstarter actually doesn't use their own credit card processing, nor does it keep that data locally on any of their servers anyways. Kickstarter uses Amazon payments as the payment method. So when you finally get a Kickstarter project going and they go to retrieve their money, it's all done through transactions with Amazon. So you're not left out in the front and cold there with having all of that stuff. Now, I was one of those fortunate people who the email address, usernames, mailing addresses, phone numbers that I used were all unique in the fact that they weren't, my personally identifiable information that I use. I actually have a business email address, a business mailing address, a business phone number that I all use. So if any of that stuff is sold and I start getting calls or mail, I know exactly where that junk mail is coming from, but it's still scary. Nonetheless, definitely would recommend, if you are, concerned about that, to go change your password. Even though it was just their encrypted password, you can always decrypt passwords no matter what. You still have that liability there. So it may not, be too much of an issue right now, but it could turn into a bigger issue if they, end up having to reset everybody's passwords, which actually Kickstarter is doing right now. They're starting to send out emails to everybody who was affected and asking them to change their password. So if you have had, maybe you just signed up for a Kickstarter account, but you never really got anything going with it, or if you do have a Kickstarter project account that maybe you haven't looked at in a while, you might want to go check it and change the password to it. You're going to want to do that just to keep yourself nice and safe. But moving on, let's talk about something a little bit better in the name of internet, because we're going to have actually a couple stories about the internet today. But I wanted to talk about one that goes to Google that is actually good. That is, Google promises 10 gigabit fiber network in the very near future, and this can bring 4K content. That's one of the kind of next steps when it comes to TV, when it comes to streaming in-home media, is 4K content. Granted, we don't have 4K TVs very common around here. Nonetheless, 4K monitors in the general at all. So, they definitely are having high hopes. They definitely want to see this come on to a rise with going from their 1 gigabit connection speeds to 10 gigabit of connection speeds. But right now, there isn't that market there to have 4K content, but it might be great for downloading. It might be great for streaming. Yes. But 4K content, I don't know if we're ready yet. A lot of people still haven't even switched over to HD TVs. I know currently at my parents' house, they don't even have HD TVs, and it really kind of sucks. But what are you going to do about it? So we'll see where this goes. Google says that they want to expand it up to 10 gigabits. We'll see how they do it. Right now, a lot of people are rooting against them, and that's more the people of big ISPs like Comcast, like AT&T, trying to drive Google back because they're offering this internet service, taking away from their customer user base, which, if it's anything, their customer user bases are huge. Google doesn't even control 1% of the entire country's internet. So why should they be worried? Well, because they're actually creating a good product. Rather than being competitive in the customer front, they're being competitive in the speed front, something that these big telecommunications can do if they just get off their lazy butts and do something about it, which they seem to aren't be doing right now. Like I have said many times before, they're just milking the system for all it's worth before they have to do something. They're not going to do anything unless they have to do it, which sucks for regular consumers like us, because what are we going to do? We can't really do anything. But it's not as bad as South Korea. Why, you may ask? Well, there's another story that we have here from The Economist saying why South Korea is really an intranet dinosaur. And if you don't know what an intranet is, it's basically a local internet. Intra, meaning to enter into net. So it's basically an internet hosted within the country. And you might be asking, well, how? Because South Korea is, well, it's a great wealth of information place. It's a great data place, but the government doesn't really want everything to come out or be coming in to the country. So they started blocking websites. 63,000 to be exact, were blocked. 23,000 Korean web pages were deleted, and all of this by the Korea Communication Standards Commission, which is basically censoring South Korea's internet. While they do provide one of the fastest locations for download and upload speeds, you are limited on what you can see, because they are censoring. They're definitely censoring a lot of the internet and censoring what you can and can't see, which kind of sucks because sometimes you can't get the full picture, or sometimes, you can't get into the information that they want you to. Now, I'm one of those people who is all about the free and open internet. I think that's a great place that the internet should be going to. And I know there's a lot of people who have my same frame of mind, a lot of people who will agree with me on that front. But, the biggest anti-people around this is governments. Why? Because they know it's freedom of information. They know that you can look up almost anything and everything. They know that they can't control it. And that's why they are scared of it. They know that if something were to go wrong, like protests were start to break out, like people were going to start to revolt against countries, they can't control it. They can try to control it, but they just can't. We've seen this in multiple areas. I think recently in, was it Venezuela or Colombia or somewhere? Just recently, they shut down the internet because, people were starting to protest, and they were using the internet to communicate, to plan out these big protests. Well, they weren't having it at all, so they just shut down the internet. They can't do anything about it, which sucks to them. But for us, it's free and open, and that's where I wish it would stay. And, unless we get some sweeping changes, like with South Korea, we can't do that. So it's one of those big hopes that I have within maybe the next 5 or 10 years, is that we can get concrete free and open internet laws. We can get laws changed that are kind of unfair right now to the free and open internet, which were written back in times where, well, we weren't thinking the best on the internet. But I think that should be all the changed here in the future, when I wish it would come around. But what are you going to do? All you can do is keep talking about it, keep promoting it, keep telling local lawmakers to support free and open internets, which I hope every one of you listening to this podcast would do. Because who knows? If it does come down to, everybody having censored internet, some of your favorite websites might be gone. So just be careful about that. But let's talk something more on the upside. It's quite interesting, actually. And I think it's great marketing. It's probably one of the best marketing campaigns that I've seen thus far that is trying to sell you a physical product. Now, when you buy headphones, you usually buy headphones in these blister packs. Well, they're called blister packs, or they're plastic packaging, which, breaks your scissors and breaks your hands when you're trying to open it. It sucks. That's how we're most used to getting headphones. But Sony has started to do something different in Auckland, New Zealand. And that is that they're selling their new MP3 player headphones that are supposedly waterproof in water bottles filled with water. Yeah, you heard me right. Filled water bottles with the headphones inside, soaking wet. They're advertising this as waterproof MP3 player. And the best way to illustrate this is to give them a free water bottle with water inside. So you have to open up the water bottle, take out the headphones, and use them. And you got to hope that, they've truly waterproof by, pulling them out of the water. And that's where this can turn into a double-edged sword, which could potentially hurt Sony rather than help it. And in that front, here's the two sides that could happen to this. The good side for Sony is that great, their product gets a ton of boom and people are saying, yeah, they really are waterproof because, hey, look at this. It's submerged in water. I can pull it out and voila, the headphones work. I can listen to them. I can run in the rain, whatever have you. But then you have the other side of the equation. This other side of the equation says, well, guess what? The headphones are somewhat faulty when they're coming off the line. So you pull out these wet headphones, you put them on, and they don't work, which turns into a whole other issue when it comes to, is this a great marketing idea or is it going to blow up in their face because them being submerged in water that long is basically suicide to those MP3 players in the water bottle and makes them all not work. For now, it's looking like the first idea where they're actually working right out of the water bottle. But, you can never be too safe. Companies usually take big risks. This is probably a big risk for Sony, trying to bringing its Walkman back, because these headphones are brought back under the Walkman brand, and they're selling it in water. So we'll have to see in the future if we see any people coming up to, find and see that, well, these headphones aren't really working in water. But let's go back to the internet, I guess, because I pulled these stories out of all of my news feeds, because I subscribe to a ton of news feeds. I pulled these stories out of my news feed chronologically, so they might be a little bit out of order in the terms of relativeness, but still in order of kind of dates and popularity in my mind for these. So today, or actually a couple days ago, IBM announced that it had achieved a new technological advancement to improve internet speeds to the magical 200 to 400 gigabits per second using extremely low power. Now, to push that much data through servers now, through cables now, is very time consuming in the way of power. Well, it seems like IBM is fixing that with their new technology, something that goes above and beyond my knowledge of controls, above and beyond, semiconductors and all of this stuff. But giving it in the layman's terms, which I will try to do, as I've read this article many times and haven't been able to necessarily decode the article. Basically, what it does is it takes data and pushes it through this chip. And this chip is made of special silicone that allows it to take big data, chomp it up, and deliver it very fast over a spread out area, which supposedly gives them 200 to 400 gigabits per second, which would be kind of cool to see if we can get stuff going like that. So, yeah, we have all that stuff. Let's talk about this story. This story I found quite interesting in the fact that it shows where the popularity is for this product. And without mentioning this product and without you looking at the show notes, because I know you guys are looking at the show notes, let me tell you this. This product has sold less than 100 million fewer copies than its older brother. So the older of these two products has sold 100 million more in 15 months than the newer, supposedly better brother. Got an idea what this product is yet? Any idea at all? Well, let me tell you. It is Windows. Here's the official article title, so if you were a little bit confused with what I was saying there. After 15 months, Windows 8 has sold 100 fewer million copies than Windows 7 did. Now, this graph is quite interesting. We can see up to, it looks like 33-month progression between Windows 7 and Windows 8. In 15 months, it looks like Windows 8 sold right around 200 million copies. Whereas by this time, it looks like Windows 7 sold 300 million copies. And looking at this graph on this article, you can see the intense incline of Windows 7 over Windows 8. Now, I may contribute that to another phenomenon, which kind of was the Vista phenomenon that some of you may say. And I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can and my thinking. So here you have a large corporation. You manage a lot of computers, and I mean hundreds of thousands of computers. Okay. Now, when you are usually buying these computers, you want one uniform operating system on it. When Windows XP came out, that was the first big jump in the Windows system. There wasn't that much of a big of a jump between me and 2000, but XP brought this huge jump. And with this huge jump, these big companies had to decide, well, if we're upgrading our hardware, now's the time to do it because we have this big jump. Fantastic. Windows Vista comes out, not many people upgrade to it. Yes, it is a change, but it's not that huge of a change, maybe just a little bit graphically. But with the introduction of Windows 7, we have the biggest change thus far within Windows, allowing a lot more supports, a lot more features, a lot better upgrade systems, stuff like that. That was the first big jump after XP. So it had been enough time, because usually these companies don't want to buy computers every year. It costs them a lot of money. So they take their time at this. So with Windows 7 comes their next big push and update. So great. These business companies are now buying Windows 7 machines because it's the next big thing after they had their old XP machines. Because by the time Windows 7 came out, XP was starting to die off. Definitely the technology had gotten much, much smarter than XP could withhold. And, well, wasn't working that properly. So these companies are now buying Windows 7 machines. And now only a couple tens of months later, we have Windows 8, which realistically isn't that much of a change from Windows 7, just a little bit of graphic wise. So these companies, I'm thinking, they're asking themselves, why should we upgrade? Looks almost like Windows 8. We can still run our programs on Windows 8. Why should we upgrade? And I think that's where Windows 8 is going. And I think that may have been also the downfall for Windows Vista too. Well, actually, granted, Windows Vista had its own issues, which I won't get into because that's a long, long rant, which is still turning into a long, long rant anyways. So Windows 8 has a very unfortunate place in time where it's not going to get the biggest push right now because people are still on Windows 7. Their Windows 7 machines are still considered new. So we have this issue right now of, well, are companies really wanting to wait for Windows 8 or are they going to wait for Windows 9 or whatever they call it? If I was a big company and I had just upgraded to Windows 7, I'd be asking myself, why should we be upgrading to Windows 8? There's no need. Let's wait till the next version. And I think that's where Windows 8 comes in at. So, let's get over that hump now. Going back to Sony, talking about their PC business now. Sony has had a PC business for a while now. Granted, it hasn't done all that good. It's all right. Just not better than good. So, this quarter, or half or a year, I don't remember, they're predicting a 1.1 billion, that's a B, loss. And inevitably, they're shutting down their PC business. So say goodbye to your Sony PCs if you had just bought one, or maybe you're looking to buy one, maybe want to stay away from Sony. They're going pretty much downhill from there on that front. So if you are going to be buying a Sony PC, just know the business is going out of business. But on a lighter front, talking about business, This week, we are celebrating 25 years of GPS. You know, that thing in all your phones, maybe in your cars, maybe in a little device in your car. GPS launched 25 years ago. It had started as a secretive project, a project which was government only, a project which didn't have a lot of public attention until someone had this crazy idea. Let's make it open source. Let's let people use GPS. That was one of the single biggest turning points in the last 30 years of technology and advancements, because it's used in almost every device nowadays. Your phones, computers, cameras, your cars, any and every electronic device you can think of nowadays probably comes with some form of GPS. And the fact that they made it free and open source, you don't have to pay subscriptions, you don't have to pay for the service, but that it's there is incredible and amazing. And that's why it's such an important thing for people to be aware of, that a lot of these technologies, help us out on a daily basis. And I thank whoever is out there for making it free, making it open source, and allowing people to use it on a whim rather than it being locked down. Because who knows where we'll be with navigation and technology if GPS wasn't free. So let's go back to the internet, because everybody loves the internet, and you're probably listening to me on the internet right now. This was a Boy Genius Report article that I really want to talk about because I feel like this subject needs to be talked about. I feel like this subject is something that is worthy of everyone knowing. And that is that ISPs are working to keep you with their slow and unreliable service. How are they doing this? Well, they're not directly doing it to your service. They're doing it in a different way. They are lobbying in your local governments to make it so that, well, these local municipal internets cannot become a thing. These big ISPs are lobbying and saying, well, it's going to hurt us. We're going to, take a huge hit. This is bad for business. Why would you do this? And unfortunately, a lot of these people are falling victim to it. I think it's like 20 states now have some form of no local municipal broadband networks. It can only be big ISPs, which leaves you in the dark because that means that you have to stick with one of the 4 or 5 big companies that are out there that offer overpriced internet at really high prices, and you can't do anything about it because there's nothing to compete with them. What are you going to get? The slow DSL that, takes 5 minutes to load a page? Hell no. You're going to take something that, well, gets you the fastest internet possible. Granted, you might have a couple hiccups. And I hate these companies that are saying, oh, people just hate our companies because we're so large. That's why people hate us. That's not true at all. It's because you really do have a sucky service. And I'm saying that from a personal user experience. I hate Comcast. I have to use them because they're the only thing in my area, but I still hate them. Let's end off with a semi-good note. And that is with the next version of Chrome 33 for Windows. They are going to block local extensions, meaning that you can only use extensions that are in the Chrome web store and that have been checked by this. And this comes in the response to a person recently who had reported that they had sold their Chrome extension to this company. This company then turned around and input malware into it, meaning that it took user data, it directed to ads, it installed software which it shouldn't have, done all of these different things because, well, this company offered a large sum of money to somebody who had a pre-existing app with a big user base around it. So with that response, Google is basically saying, well, we now have stricter policies with our Chrome extensions. They have to fit within these policies, and including in the next version of Chrome, anything that is local. So you have to have a locally installed extension that you may have downloaded somewhere and then put into Chrome. Well, that's going to be disabled and you will not be able to use it because, well, they can't help you there if something goes wrong or if a piece of malware installs it and you're left high and dry with all of your information being stolen. So I find this as a good thing. I definitely think it helps a lot of people out. Some people who may not be as tech savvy as some other people. So I find that very good. And I think that this could turn out to be a better thing than what people are saying, because I'm seeing a lot of mixed reviews right now with this new thing. They're saying, hey, we want the free technology. And I just got a little bit of Russian accent there. I don't know why. Hey, we want to be able to install whatever we want and stuff like that. Well, fantastic. But you got to think, Google is thinking for those people who may not be all that tech savvy, and they're trying to protect them as best as possible. And that seems to be the best possible option right now, is for them to do that. So I think that leaves us off with one more thing. And that is our sponsor this week. Sponsor this week is not Audible. You can still go visit Audible if you want, audible.com/logic, but that's not where we're going to. Let's talk about a different company called Loot Crate. I've been using these people for a while now. Well, I guess I've signed up for their subscription service for a while now. It is a subscription service where you pay, I think it's like $13 a month. You get a box full of some cool geeky knickknacks. It could be anything from cool kind of geeky sunglasses to a geeky t-shirt to some little figures. It really depends from month to month. They usually have some sort of theme for the month. This month's theme for the month of February, which we're actually supposed to be getting our boxes, I believe this week, is Warriors. Last week was Epic Geek plus Gamer Gear, which came with some pretty cool stuff as well. So they have these different crates is what they call them. I've been personally using this service. I think it's a fun thing. If you got an extra $13 a month, it's something that you get something cool you can look forward to, because you get, really a pretty good selection of stuff, and you get to have some fun with it. Like last week, I got a nice Superman vinyl figure. I got a Minecraft calendar with really cool Minecraft pictures. I got a couple patches. I got, what else did I get? A melting Rubik's Cube, which was pretty cool. So you have all of this stuff that you can get for the packs. They also have what they call mega crates, and they basically draw a name out of a hat every week or every month, and send you a mega crate filled with some really cool gear. So I invite you to check them out. lootcrate.com. When you sign up, go ahead and use the code LOGIC. That's LOGIC. That will save you, I believe, 15% off of your order. So go ahead and sign up if you wish. Be sure to use our code, because that will get you guys the necessary discount, and it's a recurring discount too. So, that's kind of fun. Lootcrate.com, promo code LOGIC. You guys have missed the deadline for the February crate, but if you sign up now, you'll be able to get in for the March crate coming in. Probably it comes in around the 20th to the 25th of the month. So go ahead, check them out for yourselves. Lootcrate.com. That is everything that I have for you guys. I'd like to thank you guys for listening to me rant on about everything and anything technology. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, whether it's subscribing to the RSS feed, subscribing to our iTunes channel, which we just recently got fixed through the system. So go to iTunes, search TechLink Weekly. You should find us right there. Top result, just look for the TechLink Weekly with the microphone, and that is us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Creighton Miller, and we'll see you guys next time.